Brody's Cause on the outside. Final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. Brody's Cause a final try. Brody's Cause and Corey Lannery a tremendous run. Brody's Cause at the 16th pole. Brody's Cause in front. Brody's Cause for Luis Saez to win the Toyota Bluegrass.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo, and Sunday's Spa Baby race is the 4th. Let's take a look at this field. We have 2-year-old fillies going 1 1/16 miles on the Mellon turf course. It is a maiden special weight, and Nicole, you've got a little bit of everything in here. Top connections, 2 for Chad Brown, 1 for Shug McGahee, 1 for Todd Pletcher. We've got a Clement, we've got a Maker, we've got experienced horses, we've got well-bred first-time starters. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, going a little deeper, you've got established sires and freshman sires. You've got some European-type bloodlines. You've got barns that win early with 2-year-olds versus barns that like to give them a little bit of a start. I think this race is a fascinating puzzle. It's one where I'm definitely going to say, as we always do, watch the board and look for the value. It's a really interesting race.
Well, we'll take the field in post-position order. The 1 Tona Pita is entered for main track only, a daughter of Tonalist. She would obviously factor if this race is unfortunately washed off of the turf. But we'll move to the number 2, Bridle Path. And Bridle Path is a Phipps and Janney homebred. The dam won on turf. The second dam was a Grade 1 winner on synthetic that was very capable on turf. This horse obviously has a turf pedigree. I don't think the connections are really in a rush with this horse. I think they may give her a start.
Yeah, you know, that's usually my impression with these Phipps homebreds trained by Shug McGahee. Neither set of connections is ever in a hurry with these young horses. That being said, I think this one's very interesting in this spot if she can get away well from the inside of the gate. She has previously worked on the turf a couple of times. I like when juveniles have a chance to work on the turf before they debut on it. Sometimes they don't always get that chance. And I do love this one going long. I think that might be the equalizer here. There's a lot of route ability in the female family. And the hard spuns, a lot of his top class progeny like to run long, from Hard Aces to Quested and Wicked Strong and others. So Bridle Path kind of interests me a little bit here.
The number 3 is Cristal, a daughter of first crop stallion Palace Malice. An $85,000 buyback as a yearling, sold way up for $220,000 in April after breezing a 1/4 mile in a swift 21-1. There is a lot of route ability on the bottom of this pedigree. How do you think Palace Malice, obviously winner of the Belmont and the Met Mile on dirt, how do you think his progeny will fare on the turf?
You know what? I think he might be able to tap into a little bit of turf ability. Palace Malice was from the first crop of Curlin, who's had some good turf runners like Diversey Harbor and others. Curlin, of course, by the late, great Smart Strike, who could really get you anything, including, a turf champion in English Channel and, several other Grade 1 performers on turf. So I think depending on the female family he's crossed with, Palace Malice might be able to tap into that turf ability a little bit.
Chad Brown trains the fillies that will occupy number 4 and 5 in your program. Situation Room is a daughter of first crop stallion Summerfront, a very good turf horse in his day. This filly sold for $275,000 as a yearling. The dam was a graded stakes winner on turf. The dam is a half to a couple of nice horses on the turf. Obvious turf pedigree here for Situation Room. Lots of foundation, has been breezing since May. Really hard to knock.
Yeah, very hard to knock. And you know what? Summerfront, I think, has the chance to be a very nice juvenile turf sire. This his first crop. Summerfront is a son of course, Warfront, who's a leading juvenile sire internationally. It's a precocious line that those Warfronts, those Danzigs, they run well at 2. So even though Summerfront did his best running a little bit later on, I think he might be able to tap into some precocity there. Certainly a turf pedigree. At first, I was shocked when I looked at Situation Room and I saw her at 6-1 on the morning line. It's Chad Brown, it's Javier Castellano, but I think that's because Chad Brown has another standout in this race who we're about to come to.
And this is the one that I agree with our colleague David Aragona. I think Sketches of Spain, the number 5, is going to take all of the money. This filly sold for over $500,000 at auction in Europe as a yearling. We have seen Chad do well with these kind of horses, including newspaper of record in the past. The dam was Group 3 placed routing on turf. The dam a half to a Breeders' Cup juvenile turf winner in Chrysalium. There's just a ton of pedigree here. I like the 5 furlong workouts that you see here. You don't see them in Situation Room's work tab. Something tells me this filly is going to take a ton of money.
Oh, she certainly is. And, you mentioned that 5 furlong work at this point of the year. I love to see that sort of foundation in a debut starter's work tab. And just really, you've gone through the pedigree. Lope de Vega, such a solid stallion, Cristalium in the immediate family. There's really just nothing to knock from a pedigree perspective.
But the experienced horses often have an advantage, especially stretching out around 2 turns. And the number 6, Swanage, goes out for trainer Michael Maker, and she already has 2 races under her girth. For a daughter of the distance-loving English Channel, her debut going 5 furlongs at Churchill was quite fine, and not surprisingly, she improved when stretched out around 2 turns last time out at Ellis Park, showing improved early speed. We have a formulator fact here, and Michael Maker sends up his good 2-year-olds to Saratoga. Over the past year, 2-year-old maiden special weight turf routers at the Spa, 5 starters, 3 winners, 4 on the board, a $6.62 return on investment. There are some live firsters in this race, but the 6 Swanage deserves some respect.
Oh, definitely. As you mentioned, Mike Maker's barn excels, especially with turf runners. Swanage was narrowly beaten by a well-regarded American Pharoah debut starter last time out, and she's coming up from Ellis Park, and Ellis has really just over the past several years developed a really strong 2-year-old program. People talk all the time about the Saratoga 2-year-olds, the Del Mar 2-year-olds, but really Ellis has quietly developed into this outstanding program, and I think shippers from there bear watching.
A horse that debuted sprinting at Belmont that should appreciate a stretch out in distance is the 7, Livin' at the Beach, for trainer Christophe Clement. She is a half-sister to a stakes-placed turf router. The dam won on turf. Perhaps most importantly, the dam is a half to Precious Passion, who was a very likable old campaigner that had a lot of early speed and can carry it a distance of ground.
Yeah, and how much fun was Precious Passion to watch? He had both speed and stamina, just the way he ran in some of those races, the United Nations among them. Living at the Beach by the Galileo horse, Treasure Beach. This one is definitely going to want some more distance. And with that in mind, that was a solid 3rd on debut sprinting.
The 8 is Sparkling Sky, a daughter of More Than Ready that sold for $650,000 as a Keeneland September yearling. She is a full sister to Just a Lady, a multiple stakes winning turf sprinter, and the dam was graded placed sprinting on the dirt. I like the workouts here. It appears that July 8th work went in company with Sweet Melania, who won going long on the turf earlier this meet for Todd Pletcher with a 65 Beyer speed figure. My one concern is that this seems more like a sprinty pedigree. Do you think Todd's going to have this one ready to go 2 turns on debut?
Perhaps More Than Ready, not only a solid 2-year-old sire, but a solid turf sire, of course, can get you a turf sprinter like this one's full sibling, Just a Lady, like Breeders' Cup turf sprint winner, Regally Ready. But, some of the More Than Ready stretch out as well. Think about Pluck, More Than Real, winning those respective Breeders' Cup juvenile turf races, going 2 turns. So I think Sparkling Sky, I think there is a little bit of sneaky distance there in the pedigree.
The 9, Osaka Girl. I really like the mixture in this pedigree. First Samurai, perhaps known a little more for his dirt progeny, but there's a lot of turf on the bottom of this family. The Dama winner on the turf, and she is a half to Global View, who is a graded stakes winner. There's some quality in this female family. A bullet workout out of the gate in 5 furlongs on July the 18th. I wonder if Osaka Girl will need one, though.
I think so as well. Brian Lynch, a very good turf trainer, but another one who likes to take his time a little bit with horses. First Samurai, I think, is more well-known for his dirt horses, but he has a pretty versatile sire, that son of Giants Causeway. Of course, Lee, a grade 1 performer on multiple surfaces, and Executive Privilege was a pretty good juvenile filly on synthetic as well for First Samurai.
Completing the field is the 10, Miss My Macho, by Breeders' Cup Classic winner Macho Man. This filly was ignored in the wagering in her debut sprinting on the turf. I think the distance was just a little bit too short for her. She should appreciate more ground. This is the family of Weekend Surprise, so there's class and distance, but a really tough outside post position to go 2 turns in your debut.
Yeah, and you know, I think this is definitely, you know, it's her turf debut. It's a tough position. I think it's definitely a dirt type family, and they're just looking more to stretch her out and taking the opportunity to do that. I would watch this one on the dirt later on.
So we'll see how she does after stretching out from 5.5 to 1 mile and 1/16. Pick time in here. Something tells me Sketches of Spain might be the real deal. Won't be a ton of value, but she's going to be tough. Who do you like?
Yeah, you know, they certainly act like Sketches of Spain is the real deal. I think she's very well regarded by that barn. But, you know, as we said, watch the board. I think there might be a little bit of value, you know, behind her, even for an upset, should she stub her toe a little out of the gate or something. As I said, Bridle Path, I typically, you know, don't circle the Phipps McGahee firsters first out. You know, they really like to take their time with these horses. But Bridle Path, I like this one to come running a little bit late. I really like her, you know, with some experience working on the turf and getting to go 2 turns, which I think she really wants to do. Situation Room might be bred to like this distance a little bit more and might offer more value of the 2 Chad Brown horses with her well-regarded stablemate in there. So I'm going to be watching the board. I'm going to be watching these horses in the paddock, and, you know, you might have a chance to play around a little bit with some value.
I think you're right. Situation Room should offer more value of the Chad duo, and she's got a turf pedigree. There's not a lot to knock. If Sketches of Spain, you know, doesn't show up for any reason, anything can happen with a first-time starter, I would lean perhaps towards Situation Room, the 4, the Pletcher Expensive Yearling, the 8, Sparkling Sky, and of the experienced runners, the 7, Livin' at the Beach. We'll see what Sketches of Spain does in her career debut. I'm going to take a shot with Situation Room, but it's going to be a fun race nonetheless. And it's Sunday's Spa Baby race presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.